2021, a year in review. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and as always guys, I am Andrew, and today I've got another video for you. But before we get to that video, make sure you're liking and subscribing, hitting that bell notification, so you can get regular updates for when I put out new content. Post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And make sure you're checking the description box down below for the link to the Wizardly Duo Discord, as well as links to all my social media and information about my Patreon. And that said guys, today's video is a book tag. This is the year in review book tag. And I was tagged by my good friend Patrick Ryan, whose video I will also have in the description box down below, as well as all these prompts if you want to do this tag yourself. That said, guys, it is a 10 question book tag, so let's just get right on in. Before of course I say let's get right on in. Before we get in, this was a really tough tag to do because it's like the best of, and like when you're looking at it, you're like, but I love that and I love that. So I try not to reuse any prompts here, and yeah. You know, it's been a wild year. We launched the channel back in March. We've had some great growth on the channel. I've had a lot of great discussions, met a lot of great people, tons of friendships, and yeah, I can't wait till 2022. So with that said, let's do a year in review on 2021 with question number 1. What is my favorite book of the year? And this is like the third to last book that I read this year. And I didn't think I was going to have time to even fit this in. I got mad at this book like twice, where like I didn't quite like the audio quality, so like I shelved it, and then like I was just like, okay, and then I tried to fit it in on a couple TBRs, and it just kept getting pushed. And guys, Dragon Mage is fantastic. This is an amazing book. Aram is very much a character that is on the spectrum. He develops a great friendship with Marcus. This is like my childhood adolescent daydreams of what like fantasy was, or what it would be like to be a fantasy protagonist. I had so much fun reading this. Is it technically perfect? No. There are some character inconsistencies. There's a couple pacing issues, but overall, like, I couldn't be happier with this book. I loved it so much. Oh, it's a gorgeous hardcover. And, I mean, it's a fantastic ebook. I did go back and do the audio. Again, there's still a little bit, like, of a weird echo there. Or a weird, like, dullness to the audio. Like, the narrator gives a fantastic performance. But at the same time, like, there's just something a little off. So I did a hybrid read there. I love that book. I love it so much. 5 out of 5. Very personal to me. Yes, favorite book of the year. Number 2! Jumping right on in. Your favorite series that you started this year, but you have not finished. And there's a bunch that I haven't finished, but a lot of them I wouldn't, like, deem favorites. Like, I've got The Expanse in progress. I've still got The First Law in progress. I've got I've got Red Rising in progress, but I wouldn't deem those as favorites for me. I enjoy them, but, like, I was like, favorite in progress. And I'm looking around all my bookshelves, like, what can I do? And then I look over my haul pile, and I'm like, oh yeah, I bought new copies of this series because I loved it so much. And guys, that's going to be LPQ, Long Price Quartet by Daniel Abraham. This is very intricate, very political, very character-driven fantasy. I believe in like a review or in a video I said recently, this is like a Rube Goldberg machine, where like you just push the marble and it just starts toppling dominoes and like the clapping hand monkeys that like all Rube Goldbergs like, you know, seem to have with the symbols. You know the one I'm talking about, right? I'm not crazy. And then, like, you get the end result that just has these world-changing consequences. And it all starts from this maybe not tiny little thing, but thing that just you didn't think would start that. And that's what Daniel Abraham has pulled off here. It's very good. Ota and just Mati and Idan and Itani and all these characters are fantastic. Lots of fun. Well, I won't say lots of fun. Lots of heart, lots of hard-hitting punches, lots of great beats. I'm only halfway through it. This is the first bind-up, so I've read books 1 and 2. And in January and February, I'm reading books 3, January, February, books 3 and 4. I know how the calendar works and math and stuff like that. Anyway, let's see. My favorite series that I finished this year for number 3. And this one was kind of hard because I finished a lot of series. But then I was like, I'm looking at some of my favorites and I'm like, okay, you're not done yet. You're not caught up. And then I'm looking at it, I was like, what series could I possibly pick that is like my favorite? And like, I wanted to go Brian McClellan's like Of Gods and Powder. But then I was like, I really enjoyed it and it was like a 5-star overall. But like, when I think of my favorite, the one that pops in, and it's a sub-series of a larger series, that's going to be the City Watch collection of Discworld. I started and finished it this year. That's 8 books. Guards, Men at Arms, Feet of Clay, Jingo, Fifth Elephant, and then you got Night Watch, Thud, and Snuff. All great books. Just some fantastic characters, fantastic themes, so many great beats. I've started the Death Collection. I wasn't the biggest fan of Mort. Reaper Man was a step up, so we'll see how that goes for next year, because I've still got 3 books in the Death Collection to read in 2022. But Guards is always going to hold a special place. Not Guards. The City Watch is always going to hold a special place in my heart, just because it's so fun, it's so witty. The wordplay here and the craftsmanship that went into this prose is just absolutely fantastic. Terry Pratchett is a talent that we probably won't see for another 100 years. Like, I'm seriously blown away by how talented this man was, and I'm just now discovering him in 2020. Like, that blows me away. All right, number 4. Whatcha? 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 4, your favorite new author that I discovered this year. And this could have been anybody. I read so many great books. And the one I had to go with is because, like, he's just always been a class act. We get along like a house on fire. And that's going to be Daniel Barnett, author of the Nightmareland Chronicles and 3 other books, including, I believe, Longgrave, The Safe. I forget the third one. It's not in my mind right now. I've still got Longgrave that I need to read. I'm planning to buddy read that with Leslie at some point. So I'm just waiting for her to tell me, hey, it's time. Let's read it. But yeah, no, Daniel is fantastic. He's very active on social media. I've got like a chat that I've got going with him. I reached out to him and I said, hey, I loved your books so much. Do you mind signing some for me? And yes, he sent them to me and said, thank you for your support. He's just an undiscovered gem of the horror genre. Like, the man is a genius. And he's just a class act as well. Like, I really, really enjoy talking with Daniel. The characters and the story, I've never grown so attached and so... When I'm reading his books, he can fill me with so much anxiety because anything's on the table. And I'm just like, oh God, like, are they gonna die? Are they gonna make it? What's gonna happen? What new nightmare is gonna jump out at me? Like, it's so good. The first, I would say 4 are novella length, and then, I would say the first 4 or 5 are novella length, or very, very, very short books. And then Lily is a full-length novel that just ties that first arc together. And for that reason, like, guys, I've talked with Daniel. I'll link it up in the cards, but, like, he's so awesome. If you haven't checked out that interview, it was a lot of fun. And I vibed with that man so hard. All right. Number 5, my new favorite character. And I struggled with this one, because it's like, how do you choose a favorite character? I went with the one who, like, made me laugh the most. And guys, that's probably going to be Ethan Aurelius from the Cradle series of, well, Cradle. And, I mean, I believe he makes his appearance in Soulsmith, which is book number 2. And over those next 9 books, like, I just giggle and laugh. He's so witty. He's got the perfect one-liners. And, like, his power is, like, he's always everywhere. Like, he's always aware of everything that kind of happens within a 2-mile radius of him. And he just uses it to, like, comedic effect. Ethan is a lot of fun to read. He is just... he's amazing. And for that reason, I just had to go with him. There's so many characters in this that I can be like, yeah, they're awesome. They're definitely my favorite, right? And no, it's got to be Ethan for my money. All right. Number 6, my new release. I actually had to go through and be like, what is going to be my favorite release of the year? And for me, like, I was just like, okay, because I don't read a whole lot of new releases. I just don't. I'm so far behind on my fantasy reading. Like, I got into the fantasy. I've always been, like, reading fantasy, but I used to do a lot of rereads. And so for that reason, I've got a huge backlog of stuff I've been catching up on this year. Thus, I read 127 books in 2021 just to try and catch up. And I'm planning to do the same thing again in 2022. At least my goal is like 100 books. So, like, at the bare minimum. So when I was thinking of, like, new releases, I only had, like, 5 or 6 I could choose from. And for my money, that's going to go with Stones of Light by Zach Argyle. Guys, like, book 1 was good. Book 2 was just amazing. Like, the blurb on the front, right here, says it all. A flawless sequel. That's all you really need to know about Stones of Light. It takes the stakes from book 1 and then just elevates them so well. I cannot wait for book 3 in 2022. I will probably read it on release day, like, and you can bet I'm gonna get it in this gorgeous, gorgeous hardcover. I love the story that Zach has crafted here. So we've already got a cover reveal, and I can't wait for the second book because this was a lot of fun. All right. So that was new release, which was number 6, which means it's time for number 7. So number 7 is my favorite reread. And guys, so I only reread 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 books this year. That's it. And like technically 2 of those were 1 book split into 2, which is where the series comes from. My favorite reread as a whole was Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. This is the only true series that I reread. I actually started rereading The Iconoclast by Mike Shell, and then, like, my TBR just got super bogged down, and I, like, signed up for too many buddy reads, and so, like, I've got an interview coming up with him, which I'm super excited for. I'll be doing that with Leslie sometime in January. I need to pin down a date for that. But Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn hit all the beats of a reread. This is very classic. It had been 5 years since I'd come back to this story, and I'm super glad that I did, because this is like the bridge between Tolkien and, like, A Song of Ice and Fire, or like your more darker modern fantasies. This is still very much in the classic, but you could see where it starts inspiring those darker themes and those darker, like, beats that you get in, your grim, dark fantasy tales. This isn't quite dark fantasy, but it's got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. So it's riding that line. And for that reason, like, I think this is from that period where you get to see where our modern fantasy comes from. And this is, like, right there on that apex. So I love this. I had a lot of fun. Benedict is the ultimate, like, mentor character. I always forget to mention Benedict when they're like, oh yeah, choose a wise mentor. I always forget Benedict, and I don't know why. And then it's like, who's your favorite animal companion? Well, not my favorite. Kantaka's awesome. When you've got, like, the fatherly, quite out of his prime, but still really gruff, you've got Isgrimnor, the coming-of-age young warrior. You've got Simon, a great love interest. Miriam Mel. Like, there's just so many great characters here. And so I was super happy to reread that. Alright, my biggest surprise of the year. And my biggest surprise is something that I don't usually read, and that's YA. And that's going to be The Dark Trials by T. James Kelly. I don't read YA, like I just said. And when I read this, I came in with 0 expectations. My buddy Bryce over on Shelf Centered was like, yeah, it's a really good book. And I was like, I'll give it a shot. And I loved this so much. Hannah Church is a fantastic protagonist. This is in a high school age group, but we don't spend a lot of time in school. We really spend a lot more time getting down to business. And so even though this feels like a YA book, it's almost, what's that term that I keep hearing bandied about? New adult? Where, like, it's YA, but it's on the threshold of adult fantasy, but at the same time, it's still very much got that YA feel, those YA tropes, but done and subverted and presented in such a way that I just didn't mind, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed the journey. I need to read Dante's. Someday, it will make it on the TBR. Someday! It'll make it there. Because I've got it. It's sitting upstairs on the shelf. Alright, my biggest disappointment of the year. And I thought about this, and I was like, well, there are books that I went in with 0 expectations, and I wouldn't call that with a disappointment. The series I went in with high expectations, and I ended up DNFing the series. Now, the adaptation of this show for its second season is making me reconsider. And with that context, you should probably know I'm talking about The Witcher books by Andrzej Sapkowski. I did not like Season of Storms. I ended up DNFing Season of Storms, which is it's not great reading, or it's not required, not great reading, it's not required reading. The fart jokes in there just didn't land for me. Just too much farting. I'm serious. Like, I wish I was kidding. There's just too many fart jokes in that book. And I didn't like the structure or the themes or anything that was presented. It didn't seem necessary to enhance the series overall. Last Wish was great. Started off really well with Last Wish. Sword of Destiny, I believe, is the second short story collection, which was really good. Blood of Elves was also solid. And then it just started taking a steep dive in quality to the point where I think I got to book 4 of the numbered books. And I think that's like Tower... I always get this wrong. It's either Tower of Gulls or Tower of Swallows. And I can never remember which. And like I was like, oh, this is really cool where we're starting out. And then I just shut the book. I'm a huge fan of the show. Huge fan of the games. I felt let down by those books. I just didn't care. And so for that reason, I'm going to say that that's my biggest disappointment. All right, the one book that if I would recommend to everyone if I could. And that's number 10, The Final Prompt. Well, not the final prompt, but, the final question. And I thought hard about this because if it's going to be something that I recommend to everyone, it's got to be something that's really well-rounded and really well-crafted and can appeal to a broad audience and I think be a darling to a lot of people. And, I wanted to say, a lot of people don't like really long books. And this is still a long book. I mean, it's still, I think, borderline 600 pages. Yeah, it's borderline, 570 pages. But at the same time, it's not a 1,000-page chunker. And that's Anthony Ryan's Blood Song. If I had to recommend a book to everybody in every fantasy reader, this has got the battle school. It's got a great protagonist. It's got great coming of age. It's got so many great beats and themes that are popular on BookTube that I think this would go over really, really well if I recommended this to pretty much everybody that I know. I don't know if everybody would love it, but I don't know anybody who would hate this, absolutely hate it. And so for that reason, we're gonna go with Blood Song. That said, guys, that is all 10 prompts. So prompt number 11, tag some friends. I am going to tag Owen from Owen Edwards. I'm going to tag Liam from Liam's Lyceum. I'm going to tag my good friend Joanna and my good friend Baron from Your Brain on Books. Guys, you are all tagged, and I would just love to see you do this. I did not check to see if anybody had already done this, so if you've already done it, great. I will look on your channel, and I will go ahead and watch your video and your year in review. But if you haven't, I look forward to seeing it. That said, guys, that is the end of the video. So as always, till next time, peace out, stay magical, bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons.